Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Health Bridge podcast. I'm your host, Holly B. Today, we are talking with Tiffany Kaloustian. Tiffany is a board certified functional and integrative health practitioner and naturopathic practitioner with an emphasis in functional medicine. She specializes in chronic pain, disease, gut health, detoxification, and autoimmunity. Tiffany was diagnosed with lupus SLE 12 years ago with multiple organ involvement and got to the point where she was down to a mere 87 pounds and her body was just failing. Now, 12 years later, she has completely cleared herself of all indications of lupus in her blood work. And that is why I wanted to have her on to speak with you today, because she brings so much more to the table than just the standard Western approach, because she found that that wasn't working for her. So she took it upon herself to find deeper root cause answers and learned how to slowly but surely, placing one foot in front of the other with determination, how to reverse and correct symptoms and put them into remission. When we were talking about autoimmune conditions, it's virtually a guarantee that there is underlying leaky gut or gut permeability going on behind the scenes that your Western doctor may or may not be discussing with you. But this is a huge, huge factor in your ability to get into remission and heal from these conditions. So we start out talking about gut permeability, about gluten and what that has to do with it, among many other toxins. But if you are at all curious about what's maybe going on in your gut that you need to heal in order to heal, this is definitely a really informative conversation. We really get into the details of what is going on with gluten and why it's such an issue with autoimmune conditions. Before you put up the stop sign and say, I ain't going gluten free, I'm not going to listen to this, I encourage you to just be open minded and just hear the conversation so you can decide whether or not this is something for you to consider in your healing journey. But beyond that, we have a really deep conversation about just what it means to heal as a whole, what that mindset looks like, why we need to put ourselves first in this journey, no matter what, and advocate for ourselves throughout the process. So I will go ahead right now and just tell you, save this episode, download it, because I know you'll want to refer back to it, especially in regards to the gut conversation. And I ask you right now to share this episode with somebody that you think will benefit from it as well, whether it's one of your lupus sisters or just anybody that maybe is having some random symptoms that isn't diagnosed yet and they're just trying to figure out what's going on, but they don't really feel heard by their Western doctors. This is a really important conversation to share with them. So with that, let's dive into this episode with Tiffany Kaloustian. Tiffany, I'm so happy to have you here. We have been working at this for several months now, and we finally are here together to chat all about lupus and healing and the whole journey. What do you call it? The dance? Dancing?
My practice, yeah. Embracing the dance of healing.
Embracing the dance. I was like, dancing with healing and embracing the dance with healing. I just think that's so beautiful because it is a dance. And when we can pull back and look at the journey from a high level perspective, it really is this like ebb and flow, yin and yang, beautiful dance back and forth of our journey of growth and healing and challenge and a million lessons along the way, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, that really is what drove me to. I gravitated toward that also because dance was such an integral part of my life growing up. But also exactly what you said, that healing is not linear; it ebbs and flows. I always think of the ocean, the high tide, low tide. I think of just how nothing is seamless. But when you embrace it, it makes the whole process more beautiful, because no matter if you're having a tough day or a great day or a struggle or a flare, that you're dancing through it, and that each dance is different. Each song of your healing is different. So,
Right. And it's almost like learning more about your dance partner as you go to
right.
kind of flow better versus am I going to are we stepping on toes here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. Well, you've had quite a journey with lupus, and I would love to hear more about your story. But I know that gluten is actually a big part of your journey as it is in mine. And so I'd like
Mhm.
to dive in right there and see what your experience has been with gluten. How did you realize that it was a trigger for you? And what have you learned about the reasons behind that?
It's a great question. Yeah, I'm happy to dive into that. It's a very complex piece of my lupus journey, because when I was first diagnosed, as many of us are told when we have an autoimmune disease, we are often told by our rheumatologist that diet, nutrition, lifestyle, nervous systems, that they don't play a role in our lupus. But I learned quickly that that's not true, because although the medication would calm my inflammation, the medication was just masking what was going on in my body. It wasn't actually solving the root issue. So that's when I dove into functional medicine. I started to learn about gluten, molecular mimicry, and I also learned about leaky gut, which ironically, leaky gut wasn't actually presented into the medical field until just, I would say, 15 to 10 years ago. So the doctors who've been in practice for 20, 30 years, that's a new concept for them. So what that means is that when we have a break in our intestinal barrier, our epithelial lining, a very fragile piece of our immune system, our 75 to 80% of our immune system resides in our gut. And when that is compromised due to stress, genetically modified foods, pesticides, things that over time break down the integrity of your epithelial lining, then the outside comes in. So, like when we eat or breathe something that triggers an immune response, that is directly because the outside's getting in. So, it's permeating into our bloodstream. Now, I didn't learn this until quite a few years into my healing, where I realized that the medication, unfortunately, was creating a lot of side effects that were very detrimental to my health. And so, although I never tell people to do what I did, I took the step to say, okay, there's got to be something more than just medication. Let me start with diet. And then eventually I found functional testing. But what I learned about gluten is fascinating. So, gluten, when you ingest it, naturally releases zonulin into your intestinal tract. Zonulin, think of it as termites in your home. They very, 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 very slowly eats away at the good bacteria, the healthy membrane, the lining of your intestinal tract, your epithelial lining. And over time, when constantly exposed to zonulin, it can cause gut permeability, what are they called leaky gut. It's not just gluten. Pesticides play a huge role, toxins play a huge role, infections, viruses, certain things that aren't handled. But for me, I learned that gluten was my trigger. My trigger meaning when I knew that when I ate gluten, I felt I had brain fog, I had joint pain, I would develop nodules and cysts on my hands, on my joints. And I was like, there's got to be something. There has to be a reason why functional medicine practitioners and naturopaths are saying it's best to stay away from gluten if you have any autoimmune disease, because most patients, most people with autoimmune disease have a compromised gut. And that's something that they don't really uncover until later in their healing journey. But you really have to look at the integrity of your gut. And I don't want to say 100%, but about 99% people with autoimmune diseases or chronic pain or illnesses have got to address their gut integrity. So when you ingest gluten, what happens is that gluten and protein leaks into your bloodstream through the epithelial lining that has a microscopic break. And that gluten protein, whether it's the zonulin protein or the wheat protein itself, there's many different components to gluten. It triggers an immune response immediately into your body, because once your body detects it, it notifies your body that, hey, here's an enemy and there's an antigen. So I'm going to protect Tiffany. I'm going to protect Folly. I'm going to protect whoever it is from this so-called enemy. And it initiates an immune response. But here's where it gets interesting. The receptor sites of gluten almost identically mimic the receptor sites of your soft tissue. Let me say that again. Just because I really need people to understand, because it just made so much sense. The receptor sites of gluten almost identically mimic the receptor sites of your soft tissue. So when your immune system is on alert and is attacking the gluten protein, it can misfire at your soft tissue. And it will attack your soft tissue thinking it's helping you, thinking it's getting rid of the gluten, so to speak, because the receptor sites are so similar, they can't tell the difference. So then your immune system is on overdrive and begins to attack your joints, your organs, and cause organ inflammation and tissue and ligament inflammation. These nodules that I used to have on my hands, it all made sense because of molecular mimicry and because of the close similarity between the gluten protein receptor site and our own human cell tissue.
Now, the first rheumatologist that I ever saw, which was early in my autoimmune journey, I tested with him to find out that I was on the autoimmune spectrum, and it would likely end up presenting as lupus or RA, but I wasn't there yet, right? But I was lucky to connect with this doctor because he was an integrative rheumatologist. So he did all the Western medical things, but he highly specialized in an integrative approach with alternate herbs and supplements and all the alternative stuff. And he actually wrote a book called The Gluten Human because he dove deep into the same research. And that was when I did gut testing. That was when I found out that I tested highly responsive to gluten and eggs. And I'm curious if you've come across the chicken egg conundrum too, because as he explained it, the protein and the chicken egg white is, I think, very similar to how the gluten protein and the human receptor sites, how those are very similar. It's the same thing with the chicken egg white. So if you have a gluten sensitivity, very likely you're going to also have a sensitivity and react the same way to chicken eggs. And I've absolutely tested that for myself and found that to be 100% true, even after being off of these things for probably 12-ish years now. I thought that maybe I don't have to stick to only duck eggs because I can eat all the other eggs, no problems. But chicken eggs, I couldn't. And I thought, well, maybe if I'm getting chicken eggs from a local source, no corn, no soy in the feed, like maybe that'll be fine. So I tried it, seemed okay. Tried it again, seemed okay. Ate chicken eggs for about a month. And it wasn't until that month mark that all of a sudden all the itchy rash came back, joint pain, and I felt like I had the flu, and it took me 2 months to clear that out of my system. So, yeah, and I find still if I retest or accidentally get gluten, same response even after being off of it for all these years.
Yeah. That's very interesting too, because When I first dove into functional medicine testing, before I became the practitioner, I was the patient, right? So I ran all the tests. I ran all the IgG, IgA, food sensitivity, Zoomers, everything. And I too found that my list of reds were off the charts. Like my body was reacting to almost everything, right? But very highly reacted to the egg white, more so than the egg yolk. But I stayed away from eggs. I stayed away from eggs for about 2 years. And it's very interesting what you said, because it's very common for people with an autoimmune disease to also react mainly to the white in the eggs, the chicken eggs. So for me, that's something that I'm able to eat eggs, but I actually stayed away from it for 2 years. And I slowly started to incorporate it back into my diet. And I would just watch my body's reaction. Here's the misconception. People need to also understand that, like, for example, if they say, oh, they say I react to gluten, but I had pasta last night and I feel great. Okay, that's because maybe it's a little bit of a campfire that you've ignited in your immune system, and your immune system is able to kind of like squelch it out. But if you continue to eat gluten, then that campfire grows. And then it takes your body about a week to 2 weeks to actually feel the full flare. So if you had a slight exposure to whatever you're reacting to, like eggs or gluten, for example, if you have a small exposure, you might feel a little bit funny the next day. But if you're really good about just nurturing your body, giving yourself a lot of self-care, eating the right foods, you can typically avoid a major flare. But sometimes people feel like, okay, I can eat eggs every day. I feel great. And then why all of a sudden do they not feel great after maybe a few weeks or a month is the same factor. So we have memory cells in our immune system. And so think of it as your guard dog, right? Like, let's say you have a dog and the dog knows your friends, your family and friends. So your dog knows not to attack or bark or be aggressive at the people that you trust, right? But as soon as the dog recognizes somebody that you don't trust, like an intruder, somebody who's potentially trying to break in, especially if that dog can get more of a sense of who that person is by smell, for example, dogs really have a great sense of smell. They will always remember that intruder. So our immune system, we have, unfortunately, with autoimmune diseases, especially, it's more prevalent. We have memory cells. So those quote unquote invaders that were our body views as attacking our bodies, even though we don't eat it for 1 or 2 years, could still recognize it 2, 3, 4 years later, saying, aha, I remember that was an intruder in Holly, and I'm going to attack it because I'm trying to protect Holly. So our immune system is not deliberately trying to misfire. It's truly trying to help us. And sometimes it's baffling, right? Like sometimes it's baffling. It's like, wait a minute, like tomatoes were fine like for years and now all of a sudden they're not. Why is that? Or vice versa. But once you have any kind of immune response to a food or a toxin or something airborne, it could go on and on. Once your body has identified that and recognizes it and began an attack against it, forever your body will remember it, but it's not always going to attack it. And I can talk about more of that a little bit later as to why, like why your immune system may or may not react to the same antigen.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that. You said something, what you said that I thought was really important to highlight is that your body's immune system is not deliberately attacking you. It is deliberately trying to help you. It only has your best interests at heart. It's just that the signals are confused, right? So I just want to point that out because so many people with autoimmune conditions were told that our body is attacking us. It feels like we're constantly fighting against our body. And I've heard so many people say, oh, yeah, my body just wants to kill me. My body hates me. My body is attacking me. And it's like, I understand why it feels that way. Yes, this is what we've basically been told, but I think part of healing and part of learning from this process is that we have to accept the fact that our body actually loves us and is truly doing everything that it has in its power to help you. We just have to learn how to help it help us. We have to learn how to
Mhm.
take away the triggers that are confusing the system, right? And so that brings us back to the gluten conversation, back to the gut testing
Mhm.
conversation, and all the other external things that we could be unknowingly doing to add to this confusion.
100%. Everything you said, I 100% agree with. And it resonates with me because my healing journey was tough. It took me a decade to actually get a grip on lupus SLE and to be in remission. It took me a decade because I was on medications for a few years before I even found functional medicine. And then it took me a while to apply the things into my life because I was like, oh gosh, I have to give this up and give that up. Can I do this? It's not even about just giving things up. It's about learning what is going on in your body. And just like you said, our bodies are not deliberately attacking ourselves. Our bodies are trying to protect us. But what we have to do is we have to help retrain our immune system to recognize what's really a threat and what's not. Because it's like our immune system's on hyper alert. And like I said, it's directly related to the gut. So our gut brain axis is completely connected. They have done so many research studies. They have tested the bacteria, the microbes, everything. Like the microbiome in your brain reflects the microbiome in your gut. And it is fascinating because anyone with an autoimmune disease knows what I'm talking about. When you have a flare, you have terrible brain fog. When you have a flare, you feel tired, you feel fatigued. Sometimes you have a headache, you can't think right, you want to go to sleep. So not only does 80% of our immune system or more reside in our gut, but also our brain. So everything is connected. Our bodies, though, are designed to heal. We just have to nurture it. We have to avoid the things that are the triggers, and we have to nurture the right nutrients to nourish it, right? To flourish. So what happened for me that really brought about the most drastic change is I found out the foods I was reacting to. I did a complete food sensitivity test, which tested for my IgG and IgA reactivity. I was very diligent. It was not easy. And Holly, it is not easy to change your diet. And
It is
sometimes
not.
you have you can have little mini tantrums here and there because I can't have that, but I really want that. And for me, because they can eat cake and I can't, and I have to eat spaghetti squash and they can eat actual pasta. You go down this rabbit hole of a little bit of poor me, but then you know what? Like you said in one of your podcasts that I really loved, it's like you have to change your mindset while you're healing. You have to change your mindset while you're doing the things that are hard. Because healing, if you want to heal holistically, if you want to help support your body in the best possible way, it does take discipline and it does take sacrifice. But at the end of the day, instead of saying, oh, I'm just eating spaghetti squash instead of regular pasta, ravioli, my favorite, how about reframing it and say, I'm eating the food that my body loves. I'm eating the food that loves me back. I'm eating the food that's nourishing me. It's helping my gut to heal. It's helping build my immune system back.
Really quick, Holly B here. I just wanted to interrupt the podcast to ask you for a quick favor. Can you take just a moment to like and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you are listening in on? It makes a world of a difference. And the reach of this podcast, it takes like literally under 10 seconds. So go do that right now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And now back to the episode.
So reframing, and then the best part about your mindset in that moment is how are you going to feel later? Right? Because I remember I'm like, oh, screw it. I'm going to have that cake and I'm going to have that garlic bread and then what happens? You're in a flare or you feel terrible for the next day or weeks, right? So it's finding gratitude in everything while you're healing, even if it's hard, right? Even if the sacrifices might seem astronomical, but in reality, it's not. It's baby steps, right? and we're gonna screw up. Healing, there's no way that anyone can be perfect in their healing journey and stick to the protocol 100%. Because, like you said, Holly, you and I talked before the podcast, we're like, there are times I unknowingly have gluten exposure. Did we do that on purpose? No. But what are we going to do about it? Right? And so it's all about mindset. Okay, how can we work on my nervous system health, which is huge in my healing? But how can I reframe it to not hate on myself and not say, Tiffany, how could you do that? That was so stupid. Because it's so easy to negative self-talk. When you've been sick for so many years, it's so easy, right? For the negativity to come in and just. So for nervous system regulation has really helped me as well. But it's one of those things where it's an ongoing journey because you and I talked about it, Holly. I am very grateful. I'm very thankful that after 12 years, I finally have a normal ANA. I have my autoimmune panel that used to be lit up with abnormal, positive, have all normalized. And that is something that when I started my healing journey, I wasn't thinking that far. I just wanted to take one step at a time to feel a little bit better each day. Or even if I took one step back, I wanted to take 2 steps forward to keep going. But it's all the work and it's just all the applications of learning what's going on in my own body versus what someone else's healing journey looks like, because it's not the same, right? And when people ask me, Tiffany, what foods should I avoid? What foods should I eat? That is so hard to answer, right? Because each body with an autoimmune disease reacts differently to different foods. So how do I find out? Testing. I need to see how your body is reacting to certain foods, and then I can help guide you. Because I followed the AIP diet. I felt worse. I was avoiding gluten, but I was also eating a lot of sugar foods that I wasn't quite aware of.
Yeah, the diet portion can be really confusing because there are so many opinions out there, and it's so hard to know, and it's so hard to do an elimination for yourself and stick to it long enough to figure out really if something is your trigger or not. And I've done everything. When I was going through herb school, it was very promoted to do a plant-based diet. Makes sense. Well, herbs are the magical miracles given to us to heal ourselves, right? And
But lectin, right?
what's that?
A lot of the lectins can be a problem.
Exactly. So I was eating a very much plant-based diet, never cut out meat, but just was really focused on plants. And I just had to come to a point where I realized that I wasn't feeling as good as I was taught that I should be feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't taking me to the point where I thought it should. And I've tried all kinds of different things, and I was carnivore slash animal based for about 2.5 years, and I found much more improvement doing that than I had anything else I've done, nutritionally speaking. And so I like to suggest to people to keep their minds open about nutrition and not be so rigid as to listening to, well, this is what I've been told, B, listening to your, I don't know if it's your ego mind or your gut or you're just overwhelmed, speaking out and saying, you know what, I'm not going to cut out gluten, or I'm just not going to cut out sugar, or I'm just not going to cut out this or that because I like those things. Like, we need to be open-minded enough to at least experiment and see what sits well with you personally. And when I come across somebody that is like, well, I'll do this and that, but I'm not cutting out gluten or whatever their thing is that they're latching on to, I say, well, okay, you can choose to do that, but wouldn't it be nice to just know if that's adding to your symptoms and to know how you might feel if you were to cut that out? Like maybe we can just say, hey, we're not cutting this out forever. Let's just cut it out let's start for 1 week. We hit the end of that 1 week. Can we do it for one more week and try to get to a month before you add it back in? That's all we're asking. It doesn't have to be lifelong, but if you could create lifelong health, lifelong healing out of cutting something hard out, would that not be worth it? Would you not want to trade your symptoms for the inconvenience of having to figure out how to eat without gluten?
Well said.
Yeah, to me, that's a no-brainer. It takes a while to get your mind there.
Right. 100%. And then I have clients who say to me, okay, so I cut out gluten, but I still feel like crap. But then when we really dive deeper, they're unknowingly eating gluten, right? They're eating out at restaurants often, that they're eating at Mexican restaurants. The chips most all the time are contaminated with gluten. Even the corn tortillas often are cross-contaminated with wheat. The products they use on their skin, their body lotion, often has wheat germ. Their shampoo, their oats that they're eating, even though the oats say organic gluten-free, they're still a 0.02 ppm. I could be wrong on that. It's either 0.02 or 0.2. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but I know that there is I believe it's 0.02 ppm, and that even that can instigate a gluten reaction. So what people need to understand too is when you're gluten-free, try to avoid all the close reactivity foods. And this is where it does get frustrating, Holly. And you and I, we know very well when I say that's how it feels. But when you feel so restricted, sometimes it just gets very lonely, very sad. It makes going out to parties and dinner really difficult because you feel like an outlier. Oh, I have to eat my food, but y'all can enjoy anything. That's not fair. It makes you sad. But you know what? Over the years of my healing, gosh, I don't know how to phrase this properly. But yes, I can't say that it's easy and that I am 100% happy that I have to avoid certain things that I used to love. But I embrace how I feel now, my vibrancy, the reversal of my autoimmune disease. When I was in the trenches at one point in my life at 85 frail pounds, and I saw how I was, I'd seen how far I'd come, and I hold such gratitude for the foods that I still can eat and that make me thrive. But if I'm just being 100% transparent, what put my lupus in remission were a few tests. Vibrant Labs, I'm now a practitioner with them. I ran the wheat zoomer, the gut zoomer, the neural zoomer to see if there's any autoimmunity in my brain. And those were the 3 tests that I started with. And when I started to apply those and followed the right diet, cut out gluten completely all across reactor, tried to clean up my home as much as possible, right? You can never be perfect. You're always going to have toxin exposure, but try to support my lymphatic system, try to have more cleaner products on my skin and my home. That put my lupus in remission. But I noticed that over time, I was able to eat more and more foods. Why? Because my gut health was improving. My epithelial barrier was stronger. The things that I would do, right? All those things that you apply in your life that you may not see immediate results over the years, it's all building up. It all builds up to make you stronger. So I have very little foods now that I react to. Very little. I do know my trigger foods and I do test myself once a year. I did a little experiment on myself. I haven't been open about it because I felt like I was going against what I was preaching, but I had to know, had my body healed from gluten? If my body has healed from everything else, my markers are normal, my ANA is finally normal, the anti-nuclear antibodies that are basically the antibodies that attack the nucleus of your cell, which most people with autoimmune diseases have. I was like, got to that overly confident phase. And I was like, okay, let me try gluten. And just like you said, Holly, with eggs, I felt great. the first week. I was like, I've conquered this gluten thing. I went on week 2 and I felt great. And I went, I no longer have gluten autoimmunity. This is great. And no, I didn't run a wheat zoomer on me yet. I wanted to wait because I was feeling so good. I was like, I don't need to run the wheat zoomer because I feel so great. I have no inflammation. I have no joint pain, no cysts on my joints anymore. I'd completely healed from my gluten autoimmunity. Until the morning, I wasn't okay. And just like you said, it almost just hits you like a ton of bricks. It's almost like the troops are waiting to attack, right? They're just waiting. They're building up. And then all of a sudden, the barrier is broken and you have a full flare. And I was struggling for a month. But you know what, Holly? At the end of the day, I was like, wait, look at how far I've come. Look at all the foods I can eat now. It's really gluten that I need to stay away from. That's really my main trigger. There's a few others, but very minor. Look at my blood markers. Look at my energy level. Look at the fact that I have a toddler running around right now. When I lost my period in my 20s, I had such severe weight loss and my lupus was attacking all my joints and my organs, including my ovaries. So my ovaries had premature ovarian premature ovarian insufficiency, POI, at 28. Can you believe that? And to see your body recover after implementing all the things, staying diligent, getting back up, even when you fall down. We all have moments where we're like, it's okay, just once. But we're human. And so we have to find a protocol and we have to find things in our life that are sustainable, right? Even if it's small little baby steps. I think when we throw so much at our patients at once, it's a little overwhelming. And oftentimes they're like, okay, I'll just stay on meds forever. It's okay. I don't think I can do all the things. I can't keep all this stuff up and I can't detox my house and I can't detox my body and I can't make my own food. I eat out all the time. So I can't change anything. And then the moment that you say I can't, then it's like it's harder for your nervous system to actually calm, to be in that calm state to where you are able to heal, even if it's those small little baby steps. But yeah, I never thought I would have a 4-year-old running around after all the struggles. So he's a perfect reminder of, gosh, our bodies really are resilient. And that's really what I want to do, Holly. I want to give people hope. I want to catch people in the early stages of autoimmunity. I don't want their autoimmunity to get to the point where I was. When I was finally diagnosed, I was so sick that I had to be placed on 2 medications right away. I had to go on 1 week of lupus chemo, what they call chemo, to calm my immune system down. It was so hard. I was down 85 pounds. I was just too frail. I felt like I was just, it was hard. I wasn't sure how much longer my body could take the stress. But I can catch my patients and clients with early signs of autoimmunity, early signs. If I can start screening them and catching, okay, you don't have an autoimmune disease yet. This is where I can come in to help calm the inflammation in your body that you may not know you have, so that you can help normalize those numbers so they don't progress into an avalanche and a full-blown autoimmune disease.
I think one place where Western medicine really drops the ball and lets us down is when we have these random symptoms and we're coming in for help and we're trying to figure out what's going on, because we know our bodies enough to know that something is off, but we don't have all the blood work to prove yet, or all the symptoms to prove yet, that we classify as having an autoimmune disease. There's usually several years of time from when we start having symptoms to when we can officially get diagnosed. And I think that that is the golden time when we can say, this isn't anything major right now, but it is something to keep our eye on. And may I suggest X, Y, or Z to help you regulate in that area now before it does turn into something. That's what Western medicine unfortunately doesn't have to offer us at this point. And that's where someone like you or someone like me can come in and help you along that path of creating that healing mindset of what labs can we really look into? Do you have gut issues and sensitivities that need to be addressed now before you're in full blown leaky gut mode and everything is reacting? Can we help you learn how to regulate your nervous system now?
Yeah.
Right?
Right. And to heal past trauma. Many of us who suffer with autoimmune diseases, chronic pain, fibromyalgia, whether it's toxin exposure, bacterial, viral trauma in their lives, there's something our body is holding on to that we have to let go. And digging deep, right, to peel those layers off the onion until we can figure out all those different things that we have to work on and to heal from and detox from. Going back really quickly to my gluten story, I understand why I'm always going to have a reaction to gluten. And that's even though my epithelial lining is healed, I've worked on my gut health, my immune system health is so strong, thank God. Why is it I still react to gluten? It's because, and I can explain this to my other patients who have the same question, my body has developed antibodies to zonulin, to gluten, to the gluten protein. So even if my epithelial lining is strong and I've worked on my gut health and I feel great, as soon as that gluten protein is identified in my system, my immune system is like, I gotta help Tiffany. I'm helping Tiffany. And there's no way I can turn that off. I can't tell my immune system to unlearn something. Because my immune system now has memory cells to gluten and it's immediately trying to protect me. So you know what? I did the gluten experiment for a while, but I've learned, see, like you said, it's a learning process of what our body is telling us. What is our biofeedback? What are the messages that our body is sending us? And are we willing to listen to them, right? And apply those things, the different lifestyle changes, healing past trauma, working on our nervous system, healing our gut, watching our diet, cleaning up the toxins and detoxing our body safely, doing the mindset protocols, grounding, getting appropriate sunlight. Are we willing to do that? Are we willing to, for me, I write things down on my calendar to make sure I get certain things done each day. It's kind of like something that's a non-negotiable for me. Like, what's going to help me feel and what's going to help me maintain my health? And even if it means saying no to a late evening that I would really love to attend, I know that my sleep is top priority, especially how active I am with my practice and with my toddler. I'm exhausted. Come 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'm like, oh. But you have to know healthy boundaries, right? And also, if you are going to have a late night, give yourself that grace to sleep a little bit longer the next morning. See, because we have a harder time bouncing back when our routine is disrupted. Our bodies love routine, and our bodies thrive on sleep and rest, right? So we can't heal unless we're in rest and digest mode. We can't heal. So it's like not being selfish and not saying, oh, gosh, I'm giving myself way too much self-care or I'm prioritizing myself too much. And we have to change that mindset because no, we're not. We're giving ourselves exactly what our body needs, 100%.
Look at your immune system, even if it's misfiring, right? We talked about this earlier. It's got your back. It is doing
Right.
everything it can to heal you, right? So why don't you also have your own back? Like, we have to have our own back in this. And anybody who rails against that, who judges us for it, screw you. I'm sorry. Like, we have to be the most important one in our life in this situation because it literally could end up in life or death or severe complications if we're not taking care of ourselves. Even when you're at the point where you are, where you have completely reversed your autoimmune condition, you're still very well aware that you have to keep these systems in place. Maybe you have more leeway now than you used to. Hey, I just wanted to jump in here and interrupt the program for just a hot minute. You know that I'm so passionate about this podcast, but what I'm also really passionate about is helping women with lupus minimize their symptoms, boost their energy so that they can indulge in life again. So if you are a woman who is struggling with lupus, who is sick and tired of being sick and tired, who's struggling to manage your flares, if you're finding that your lupus symptoms are just really getting in the way of you being able to live your life the way you want to, I feel you. I've been there myself and I felt the same way. And what I've found is that there are a certain set of health fundamentals that once applied, will support you in your foundational health. They will support you in building and maintaining that energy, minimizing flares, and allowing you to, again, indulge in life and follow your passions. So, if that is something that you are interested in creating for yourself, let's jump on a call together. I will walk you through the process that I use with my clients to get them from sick and tired to strong foundation of health by implementing my Health Bridge protocol. If this is something you're interested in chatting more about, I would love to talk to you. Apply for a free clarity call with me, and I look forward to getting to know you soon. And now back to the episode. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that we can just throw everything to the wind and be like, I'm going to go party all night like I thought I could when I was 20. That's not going to go
100%.
well.
Well, look at the analogy when you go on an airplane and the flight attendant's giving you the safety instructions. What do they always advise you? Put your oxygen mask on first, put your life vest on first, and then help your child or somebody who you can't help themselves. Because if we're not taking care of ourselves, how are we the best? How are we the best for those who need us? I have to nourish my body. I have to get my sleep. I have to, all the things that make me feel great makes me a better mom, makes me a better wife, makes me a better friend, a daughter, right? So it's like we have to make sure that we love on ourselves and enough, and also not just the practices, but the self-talk. That's extremely powerful because I know you can relate to this too. Like self-love is also self-talk. It's not only the things that we do, like getting grounding outside and getting some good sun and drinking purified water. And it's more than that. It's how we view ourselves and it's how we talk to ourselves. It's huge because you can do all the things, but if our mindset is still, oh, I'm sick, I'm never going to get well, or these things are probably not helping me, that's a roadblock. So we have to talk to ourselves like we're talking to our most dear loved one.
Challenge your narratives. Yeah. Challenge your narratives because those thoughts are on repeat, right? Those are just loops that have been trained into our brain to just automatically come up and automatically trigger, right? So if your thought is, I'm going to be sick forever, my body hates me. When you hear yourself thinking that thought, catch it and be like, oh, there's that thought. Do I actually know if that's true? Just challenge it and tease that out and look for evidence. And your evidence for the future shouldn't just be based on the past. Well, I've been sick for 10 years, therefore I'm going to be sick forever. The math doesn't necessarily add up on that. So challenge that and start questioning things and just crack the door open a little bit to other possibilities. And once you can do that, it becomes easier and easier and easier to start redirecting those thoughts somewhere that's actually going to be useful for you rather than somewhere that's going to keep you locked up in that box of autoimmunity or of whatever your situation is.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what makes little surprises and blessings and little miracles like my Samuel, what a gift, because like you said, sometimes that narrative in your head can just play like, remember, you were told at 28, you're done. Your ovaries, they're not going to release eggs anymore because you're too sick. So if you're too sick, why are you going to reproduce? Your body will not reproduce. You won't ovulate when you are very, very sick. Well, it's something like it's a protective factor, like protecting you from being in another situation that could be detrimental to your own health and to the baby's health. But when I saw the positive pregnancy test, I took 6 pregnancies. Seriously, I kept them all. The first one, I'm like, probably a false positive. Second one might have been expired. Third one, maybe, is there a line? Fourth one, oh, there's a line. Fifth one, let me just make sure. And like, I was in such shock. I was like, and then of course you cry and you're like, oh, so just like you said, you can't listen to what any professional or doctor might tell you. That's not your story. What they tell you is not necessarily your story. You can navigate whatever is thrown in your path, and you can try to find answers and educate yourself and advocate for yourself and try new things. And some things aren't going to work, and some things are going to make you feel worse, and some things are going to make you want to throw in the towel and say forget it. But no, keep going. Like my grandma said, keep pressing on, keep finding those answers, because there will be these little moments that just make everything worth it. Make every single struggle worth it.
I say take your doctor's advice or as information. All the information you're getting from, say, genetic tests or what your doctors say is or isn't possible for you, what other people say is or isn't possible for you. That's just log that as information. It's not fact. It's not fiction. It's just information. And you don't need to latch onto it. You can let it inform your next course of direction, absolutely. But it doesn't need to be written in stone as your story, like you're saying. But I'd like to ask you, being a mother with a child, I don't have children, but I do have a lot on my plate. How do you find that balance of the self-care and putting yourself first when you have this little human that is completely dependent on you? I'm curious what your experience is with that.
So happy you asked that, because this has actually been something that I've been navigating for the past couple of months. And what I mean by that is prioritizing the time that I have to focus solely on him, because he was such an unexpected blessing. And sometimes I find that with a full day with clients or even a half day with clients, my next inclination is to hop on social media and try to be as present to people who have DM'd me or asked me questions. Then I spend another hour or two doing that. And where's my little boy? Sitting next to me, watching something on his iPad and that bothered me. And what happened a couple weeks ago, actually, is he took my phone after I got off my client session. And he took my phone and he actually hid it. And that was a message to me. It's like, wow, Tiffany, yes, I have so much to tell the world. Yes, I have so much I want to share to the world. But how do I find that balance? How do I prioritize him, who's been given to me as such a blessing after my healing journey? He's my priority. So I've actually backed off. I've lessened my workload. a little bit. I have changed my work schedule a little bit. I'm definitely on social media, probably 30% versus, well, let me rephrase that. I've cut it about 70%. So I'm only on it now 30%. And I have to find that balance to where I'm giving him all of me when I'm done with my clients. Holly, like you had mentioned, it's like we want to help people, right? We want to be available for people. And it is hard for me to turn that switch to be like, okay, I'll stop answering my DMs. I can't post content right now because I'm focused on him. And then what happens? It's bedtime. And then I'm tired. And then I feel like I'm letting everybody down. So that's a great question because I'm still trying to navigate that. It's, it is hard. I'm the only one in my practice. I don't have anybody else who could pick up the slack if I can't do a client call. But I've shifted what I do now after I jump off client calls. I devote everything to him. And I'm seeing how that's working. And I haven't posted in quite a while. But I'm still there. I hope people can still look at my highlights and the things I have posted and maybe listen to my podcast like this. Because I feel like just talking, that's the best way to learn more about me on my journey.
I agree. And I think it's like finding this balance is a lifelong process. And sometimes it's going to be easier in our lives, and sometimes it's going to be harder. I am actively working on figuring out that balance and flow for myself as well. Still working a regular job while I'm working with clients and building this business and making podcasts every single week and staying consistent on social media. It's a lot. And I also am a one person team at this point. So, yeah, I've found you were on a podcast with Shadrika, and I was as well, and I had her on my podcast. She's all about being chronically planned. And I am really working hard at implementing what she teaches, which is get everything into your planner, get your self care time into your planner.
Right.
And if the more we can schedule out, which doesn't come naturally to me, but the more we can schedule out, the more time we actually have in our day because we're not scrambling day to day with all the things. And so I'm slowly week by week getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And that's where it comes down to what you were saying earlier. This is baby steps. This is penguin steps. This is one thing at a time. What is one choice that I can make a little bit better each day? Or what is one thing that I can do for myself each day? And it has that compounding effect over time. So it's just about staying consistent, remembering that you matter, remembering that you are loved, you are worthy, and you are worth supporting. So asking for support too for your close family and friends and loved ones or at work, wherever you need to ask for support. I think that's so important. And again, that's not something that comes easy to me. And I'm getting better. And I think with a lot of women with autoimmune conditions, that is a struggle because we are the givers. We're passionate and we want to help everybody, and we say yes to too many things out of the goodness of our heart, but it backfires on us because then people expect that out of us. They expect us to always say yes. They expect us to do all the things because we've trained them that way. We've trained them to expect that of us. And we need to know that we can retrain ourselves and we can retrain those around us to allow us that time to step back and eat the food we need to eat and rest when we need to rest and say no to things when we need to say no to things so that we can feel okay the next day.
Absolutely. And knowing that let's prioritize what's most important each day. And then it's always okay to put something that was planned for today for tomorrow. It's always okay. That was hard for me to learn. I've always been such go, go, go. Everything checked off on my checklist every day. If I didn't have everything checked off, I didn't feel accomplished. And that's so wrong. It's oftentimes setting the bar too high for yourself, but just do the best that you can for that day. I gave my best today, and now I'm going to put my best foot forward tomorrow without depleting myself of energy. And if I do that, then the next day I won't feel as great. So it's just learning. It's like you said, yeah, it's not seamless. We're still learning as we're going. And just like with Shadrika, I loved talking with her on her podcast as well. Yeah, just lay it all out. Put yourself in the daily plan. You matter that much. Yeah, 100%.
This has been an amazing conversation. Where can people find you, and what does it look like to work with you?
I enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for having me. Gosh, Instagram, that's my only social media platform. So it's at Tiff_ARA_KAL. And my website is embracingthedance.com. You feel free to just browse a little bit of my story, different things that I have on there. I've got a bunch of information on there, and you can browse from the functional medicine testing that I run on my patients. Usually what it looks like is the clients will either reach out to me as a DM or an email, and we'll have a free 20-minute call and just touch base on what goals are and things that client is looking forward to achieving in their health. And then we take it from there, whether it's just starting with nervous system regulation, nervous system support, or diving straight into testing or diet guidance. Something that I touched on another podcast with was blood type diet. It's not something that many people really hear about too often, but something that really helped me was also ancestral eating. So like knowing your blood type and then eating according to that ancestral bloodline. I think it's fascinating. So some clients just like to start there. And then we build up over time, diving deeper, but at their own pace, at clients' own pace, not mine.
Love that. I will put all those links in the show notes. And any last thoughts for our listeners that are struggling, that maybe are just overwhelmed by all the information out there? What would you say to them?
Oh gosh, I know that you've echoed this before, and I know you understand, but you are not your diagnosis. You are not your autoimmune disease. You are not lupus. You are not RA. You are not anything but your beautiful self. And I believe that we have challenges in order not necessarily just for us to grow from, but so others can also benefit from us as well. For example, all the things that we have learned, we can help others. And never stop advocating for yourself. Seek answers. Never give up on yourself. And I think those mantras, those things are so essential to not just to healing, but in life. And that there's a greater purpose than what some people may be feeling right now. Some people may be feeling hopeless or stuck or that they don't have a community, but things that you bring to the table, for example, your podcast, what you share on social as well, so valuable. So people just need to find that community, and we're always here to support each other.
Absolutely. I definitely encourage anyone listening to reach out to both of us. We both have a great community around us. We have lots of resources, whether or not it's about working with us. We still have many things that we can share for free. So definitely, if you are seeking community, if you don't have anybody around you that understands, know that we do. And we're here to support.
Saving highlights, I think, are important on Instagram because it's easier for people to kind of reference to those things that we just saved, just as reference for anyone who wants to look up anything, if they have any questions or any guidance that they can start with.
Yeah. And actually, thanks for the reminder. I need to refresh my highlights on my Instagram.
Yeah, but Holly, you have so much good content like every single day, and I've been slower on content for a while. So relying on my highlights for people to just refer to things I have said.
Right. No, I love it. And you know what? It all works. It all works. It doesn't matter if you're posting all the time. The people that need to find you will find you. And with that, definitely anybody listening, please follow Tiff on her Instagram because she also has beautiful information there. Whether you're posting or not every day doesn't take away from all the information you've already got on there. So
Thank you, Holly.
of course. Thank you so much for sharing such good information with us. And yeah, just thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Embracing the dance. I just love that term and I love how it applies to this up and down process that we go through as we heal. I really encourage you to I know this is hard when you're really in the thick of symptoms, when you're in the middle of a severe flare, to be like, "Oh yeah, this is so beautiful," while I feel like I'm dying. I know. Trust me, I get it. So does Tiffany. But I'd like to encourage you to, while you are in that space, especially, just try to take a few minutes to just lay down, close your eyes, put your hand on your heart, and breathe. And just reassure yourself that you are loved, even when you're feeling like crap, that you are worthy of healing, and that there is a higher purpose in this. There is a beautiful dance that is going on. And while you might not understand the rhythm of the dance yet, you will learn. It will come over time. It just takes small baby steps of being consistent and being open-minded throughout the process. Just a deep breath in and out through the nose. If you're feeling extra anxious, do straw breath, which is in through the nose and purse your lips as if you're blowing out of a straw so that the air goes out really slowly. And it's a long exhale that way. Do that 5 times, 10 times if you need to, but it helps to really calm down the nervous system, calm down the quick breathing that we do when we're anxious. And it can help you get back to that heart coherence, to that space where you know that you are loved and you are worthy. And you know that there is a purpose to this, to your life, and that you have so much to share with the world. And that's really what I want to leave you with today after this conversation is just any time that you are feeling so frustrated that you just want to throw in the towel, like we were talking about earlier, just to bring it back in, bring it back to your breath, even if that is 30 seconds while you're at work and you can get away with closing your eyes for 30 seconds without anybody looking at you funny. Take that 30 seconds or take a long bathroom break and just sit in there with the stall closed. Close your eyes and breathe and tell yourself, I am love and I am worthy. I am love and I am worthy. This is how we start the process. This is how we start that self-love process that is absolutely crucial and required in order to fully heal. Definitely reach out to Tiffany, follow her on her Instagram, ask her questions if you have them, and please reach out to me as well. I would be honored to walk you through this process, but we don't have to dive in head first. Let's just start with a 10-minute call, no pressure, and help me see where you're at in your journey so I can offer you the resources that will help you the best. Thank you so much for listening in. You can find all the links that we discussed in this episode, as well as the link to sign up for a quick 10-minute chat with me in the show notes. And I will see you next time on the next episode of the Health Bridge podcast.